My name is John Feltz with GenCell, and this is our EVOX Expo. We're going to start off with Orville Thomas here doing the keynote to invite everyone, or welcome everyone to the CMC.
When I started 7 months ago and we talked to our team, we said, let's create a clean energy, power, and zero-emission innovation collaborative where events like this can happen. And John, when I told him, he said, well, I got an idea for you. I'd like to also acknowledge our SMUD board member, Greg Fishman, in the room. Thanks, Greg and SMUD, for all your support. This partnership is important because Depot Park, where we are right now, is located in a Justice 40 community and really doesn't have the access to the clean energy infrastructure needed for fleets to transition their vehicles away from diesel and towards hydrogen and battery electric. They can have a space to charge their heavy-duty vehicles and do it in a way that doesn't cost them tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for utility upgrades. I think it's going to get their heads thinking of how they could accelerate their transition and bring those zero-emission vehicles to our communities.
I have an esteemed panel. I'm going to introduce, if you can raise your hand, Rafe Porter from Sacramento Municipal Air Quality District, Mike Hart, CEO of Sierra Railways, and Nico Bokamp from GTI Energy. Now is the time, I think, where we're going to get away from a dominant fuel source, a single fuel source, and move into a fuel type that is one of many, right? It's going to be the right fuel source for the right application. And that's where I really believe hydrogen is going to step in and really show the value.
How does hydrogen impact the Sacramento region? If there's a way to go to a zero-emission fuel, that's a spectacular win for our community across the board. So that's the obvious one. But there's also another one that I'm really excited about. We could become the hydrogen center for America. There is so much good research, so much good development going on right now between the great colleges we have here and the businesses that are leading the country in hydrogen research and development. There is a huge opportunity for Sacramento to become that dynamic hub for America and where hydrogen is going. So what a great opportunity for our community. I'm really excited about that.
Well, that's what Mike just talked about. So there are significant opportunities on feeding cleaner, low carbon hydrogen into the existing streams of where hydrogen is used. That's already happening in this region. Typical applications where the hydrogen could be replaced by low carbon options. So it could be ammonia. If you could use quite a bit of hydrogen or replace some of that hydrogen that's used there with low carbon hydrogen, you're immediately cleaning up the current fleets.
You're right, climate change is happening, and so the Air District, we're looking at it from two perspectives, really. We're looking at it from both the mitigation and then the adaptation side. So mitigate, obviously we're going to try to reduce as much emissions as we can, whether it's from the tailpipe or from buildings. So we're working with all of our jurisdictions. We're trying to help them meet the Advanced Clean Fleet rule. On the adaptation side, things like the GenCell are going to be fantastic for what you experienced in Houston, providing power. An example that's happening right now is we've got the fire happening right outside of Chico. Having something like this is going to be able to provide power, to schools, to stores, to the homes that are still there, to emergency services that are going to be, providing services in the area.
I'm incredibly excited about hydrogen for a number of reasons. But from my perspective, it's mostly about energy independence. Hydrogen is something we can make here. It's something we can make where it's needed across the country. We can make hydrogen right where it's needed. And it's something that I'm incredibly excited about. With our fast ox gasification system, if you factor in getting paid to take the trash away, we can make hydrogen for about a buck a kilogram, which is 50 cents a gallon gasoline equivalent. So every city has got a huge fleet of vehicles where they could own the vehicles running on hydrogen.
Well, the more that we're not making this transition to zero-emission vehicles, the more we're not putting hydrogen out there into the transportation sector, the more air quality emissions detriment we're seeing, and the more federal and state dollars we're missing out on. So we all think that this is just for feel good and for air quality purposes, it's not. There's actually a really big detriment if we don't hit our air quality standards. We lose out potentially on billions of state and federal transportation dollars.
The example that we have here, I'll start with the GenCell example, is like, so this applies to all areas. So in many places, and as long as you're in an urban area, you're reasonably well off with regard to the grid and like availability of power. But as soon as you go outside of those areas, or if you're in specific pockets within those areas that are relatively old or have been in place for a long time, power supply is limited. It's like you have an existing infrastructure, and transitioning to a new option, let's say it's all electricity, it's going to be challenging. So the utility will have to incur significant costs to upgrade their capital equipment. So the grid needs to be upgraded, it needs to have extra capacity. I can't just put in like lots of chargers in any point within the region, even more so in the rural areas. So a solution like this is an upcoming opportunity because there are more and more battery electric vehicles on the road, but you do need to charge them somehow.
What we're focused on is incredibly safe transportation methods for hydrogen. Liquid organic carriers, a lot of these metal hydrogen, some of these other ways people are looking at moving hydrogen are exciting, but I like this one because I know I can move big heavy things long distances, and we can move it directly to the communities where it's needed, and once it's there, you can stockpile it. I love that idea, just big stacks of hydrogen for whenever you need it.
Hydrogen is an energy carrier, just like electricity is an energy carrier. You want to store it if you want to use it later. You can immediately use it, which kind of eliminates the use of transmitting it, or you can you put it to good use immediately, but you can store it. So that's an opportunity as well, and I think that's also what, and I keep coming back to GenCell, but if you store it and you use it later on when you really need it, when your grid is out, for example, or when you need capacity, then you can use it.
Well, so I think two closing things and things we haven't really talked about. One is policy at the statewide level, and then two is the impact on the community. And the second thing is the impact on the community. I talked about mitigation and adaptation, and I think hydrogen is a great tool for that. One, it's going to really, again, reduce the emissions. And then on the adaptation side, GenCell and other things like that are a great opportunity. Again, power outages always happen in those lower income communities, communities of color. So, you know, having these things, having cooling centers that are running on hydrogen, GenCells, things like that are going to be that great adaptation piece. So policy, go to your state, talk about LCFS credits, and then really think about the impact you're having on your community. Thank you.
In the future, consider electricity and hydrogen for all the areas that we've talked about so far, whether mobility or stationary or industry. We need all of them to make things sustainable and reliable.
I think the whole idea of a future that's distributed, and that is that where our energy is made where it's needed, rather than relying on some big power source somewhere far away, but also making sure that it's safe and not polluting. By the way, hydrogen is the stem cell of energy.